Jake Morrison walked down the busy street, looking at the tall buildings that reached up to the sky. The year was 2157, and Earth looked very different now. Flying cars moved between the buildings, and people from other planets walked next to humans on the sidewalks. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few had wings on their backs. Jake wore his old work clothes, a brown jacket with oil stains and pants that had seen better days. His hands were rough from years of fixing machines and working with tools. He had worked at the power plant for 15 years, making sure the lights stayed on for everyone in the city. His black hair was getting long and messy, and he needed a haircut badly. Today was special. His daughter Lisa was graduating from the Space Navy School, and Jake wanted to look good for her big day. He had saved money for months to get a proper haircut at a nice place. Most cheap places were closed today because of some alien holiday, so he had to go somewhere fancy. Jake stopped in front of a big glass building with gold letters that said, Stellar Lux Salon. Through the windows, he could see strange aliens, sitting in fancy chairs. Some had crystal-like skin that sparkled in the light. Others looked like tall, thin humans, but with silver eyes and pointed ears. All of them wore expensive clothes that probably cost more than Jake made in a year. He took a deep breath and walked through the automatic doors. The inside of the salon was even fancier than the outside. The floor was made of white marble that reflected everything like a mirror. Soft music played from hidden speakers, and the air smelled like expensive flowers. A woman with perfect blonde hair and a tight smile walked up to him. Her name tag said, Patricia Wells, Manager. She looked at Jake from head to toe, and her smile got smaller with each second. Can I help you? Patricia asked in a voice that suggested she did not want to help him at all. I need a haircut, please, Jake said politely. My daughter is graduating today, and I want to look nice for her. Patricia looked around the salon, at all the alien customers. Some were getting their hair done by robots with many arms. Others were getting strange treatments that made their skin glow different colors. A tall alien with purple skin was getting his 4 arms massaged at the same time. Sir, I'm not sure this is the right place for you, Patricia said quietly. Our services are quite expensive, and we usually serve a more distinguished clientele. Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He had saved $300 for this haircut, more money than he had ever spent on himself. I can pay, he said simply. Patricia's eyes got wide when she saw the money, but she still did not look happy. Well, I suppose we can find someone to help you, but you'll have to wait. Our regular stylists are all busy with important customers. Jake nodded and sat down in a corner chair. The other customers stared at him like he was something strange. A group of aliens with crystal skin whispered to each other in a language that sounded like wind chimes. Jake could not understand their words, but he could tell they were talking about him. One of the crystal aliens, who wore a golden crown-like thing on his head, spoke loudly in English. Why did they let workers in here? This used to be a place for important people. His friends laughed, making sounds like breaking glass. Jake felt his face get hot, but he stayed quiet. He was used to people looking down on him because of his job. A young alien with green skin and big eyes came in through the front door. He looked nervous and kept looking around like he was lost. This was his first time on Earth, and everything was new to him. The alien boy walked up to the front desk, but Patricia was busy talking to other customers and ignored him. Jake stood up and walked over to the green-skinned boy. Are you okay? He asked kindly. The young alien looked surprised that someone was talking to him. I have appointment, but I not know what to do. This is my first Earth haircut. What's your name? Jake asked. I am Ben Clark. I picked Earth name for school. Jake smiled. Nice to meet you, Ben. I'm Jake. Don't worry about being nervous. Getting a haircut is easy. They'll take good care of you. Ben's big eyes got brighter. You are very kind. Most humans ignore me because I am different. We're all different, Jake said. That's what makes life interesting. Patricia finally noticed them talking and walked over quickly. Sir, please don't bother our customers. she said to Jake with a fake smile. He's not bothering me, Ben said. He was helping me feel better. Patricia looked annoyed but could not say anything rude to a paying customer. She led Ben away to a styling chair, but Ben waved goodbye to Jake with a grateful smile. Jake sat back down and waited. More aliens came and went. Some looked like giant cats that walked on two legs. Others had tentacles instead of arms. All of them wore fancy clothes and jewelry that sparkled with their own light. After an hour, a young girl with red hair came over to Jake. She looked tired and nervous. Sir? I'm Amy and I can cut your hair now. I'm sorry you had to wait so long. Jake could tell that Amy was new at her job. Patricia had probably told her to take care of him because none of the other stylists wanted to. That's okay, Amy. I'm not in a hurry. Amy led him to a chair in the back corner of the salon, far away from all the important customers. As she put a cape around his shoulders, Jake could hear the crystal aliens still talking about him. Look at his hands, one of them said. So dirty and rough. How do they let people like that walk around? Earth humans are strange, another one replied. They think manual labor is honorable. In our world, only the lowest class works with their hands. Amy's face turned red with embarrassment. I'm sorry about them, sir. Some customers can be very rude. Jake looked at Amy in the mirror and smiled. Don't worry about it, I've heard worse. Just focus on giving me a good haircut so I can make my daughter proud. As Amy started cutting his hair, Jake thought about Lisa. She had worked so hard to get into the Space Navy school. When her mother died 3 years ago, Jake thought Lisa might give up on her dreams. But she kept studying and training, and now she was about to become an officer. The crystal aliens kept making rude comments, and other customers joined in. They talked about how humans were primitive and how Earth was becoming too crowded with common people. Jake said nothing, but his jaw got tight with anger. He just wanted to get a haircut for his daughter's graduation. He did not expect to be treated like a king, but he also did not expect to be treated like trash. Jake closed his eyes and tried to think about something else while Amy worked on his hair. He had no idea that in a few minutes, everything in the salon was about to change, forever. Amy continued cutting Jake's hair while the rude comments from the alien customers got louder. The crystal aliens seemed to enjoy making fun of humans, especially Jake. Their leader, who wore the golden crown, had a name that sounded like breaking glass when he said it. But Patricia called him Ambassador Zalthara, and everyone in the salon treated him like he was very important. Look at him sitting there so quietly, Ambassador Zalthara said to his friends. Earth humans have no pride. In our world, a worker would never dare enter a place like this. His crystal friends laughed their wind chime laugh. Maybe he does not understand that he does not belong here, one of them said. Jake's hands tightened on the armrests of his chair, but he kept his face calm. Amy noticed and whispered, I'm really sorry, sir. They're always like this. It's not your fault, Jake said quietly. Just keep doing your job. You're doing great. Patricia walked over to check on Amy's work. She looked at Jake's reflection in the mirror with obvious disapproval. Make sure you don't take too long, Amy. We have real customers waiting. Jake felt his face get hot. I am a real customer. I'm paying the same money as everyone else. Patricia's fake smile got even faker. Of course, sir. I just meant, well, you understand. But Jake did not understand. He had worked hard his whole life, paid his taxes, and raised his daughter to be a good person. Why did that make him worth less than these aliens who had never done an honest day's work? More customers came into the salon. A group of tall aliens with silver skin and long necks looked around like they owned the place. They wore clothes that seemed to be made of liquid metal that moved and changed colors. Behind them came some aliens that looked like giant lizards walking on two legs. Their scales were bright green and blue, and they had small crowns made of gold and jewels. All of these new customers stared at Jake like he was some kind of animal in a zoo. The lizard aliens started talking in their own language, which sounded like hissing and clicking. One of them pointed at Jake and made a sound that was clearly laughter. Why is there a maintenance worker in here? One of the silver aliens asked. Patricia in perfect English. This is supposed to be a high-class establishment. Patricia's face turned red. He paid for service, Your Excellence. We couldn't turn him away. Well, you should have, the alien replied. The smell of manual labor is making my scales itch. This was not true. Jake had showered before coming here and put on his cleanest clothes. But the alien customers all pretended to wave the air away from their faces like Jake smelled bad. Young Ben Clark, the green-skinned alien who Jake had helped earlier, was getting his hair cut at a station nearby. Ben looked upset by what the other aliens were saying. He tried to say something to defend Jake, but the older aliens ignored him completely. Children should not speak when adults are talking, Ambassador Zalthera said to Ben coldly. Especially children who make friends with the wrong sort of people. Ben's big eyes filled with tears, but he stayed quiet. Jake felt angry that they were being mean to Ben just because he had been nice to a human. Amy finished cutting the sides of Jake's hair and started working on the top. Her hands were shaking now because of all the tension in the room. Jake noticed and tried to make her feel better. You're really good at this, he told her. How long have you been cutting hair? Just 6 months, Amy said quietly. I'm still learning. Well, you're doing a perfect job. My daughter's going to love how I look. Amy smiled a little. What's your daughter graduating from? The Space Navy Academy, Jake said with pride in his voice. She's going to be an officer on a starship. Some of the alien customers heard this and started laughing. A human officer? One of the lizard aliens said. How amusing. I suppose they need someone to clean the floors on their little ships. Jake's jaw got tight. He could handle them making fun of him, but making fun of Lisa was too much. My daughter earned her place there. She's one of the smartest people I know. I'm sure she is, Ambassador Zalthara said in a voice that made it clear. He did not believe it. For a human anyway. The other aliens found this very funny. Even some of the newer customers who had just arrived started laughing without knowing what they were laughing about. Patricia walked over to Jake's chair again. This time she looked worried. Sir, I need you to pay now before we finish. It's our policy for certain types of customers. Jake knew this was not true. He had watched other customers get their full service before paying, but he did not want to cause more problems for Amy, so he reached for his wallet. $300? Patricia said loudly, making sure everyone in the salon could hear. The alien customers gasped and made shocked sounds. $300 for a simple haircut? Ambassador Zalthera said. That's more than most humans make in a week. Maybe he stole the money, one of the silver aliens suggested. How else would a worker have so much cash? Jake's hands shook with anger as he counted out the money. Every dollar represented hours of hard work, overtime shifts, and meals he had skipped to save up. But he wanted to look good for Lisa, so he paid without complaint. There, he said, handing the money to Patricia. Is that enough proof that I belong here? Patricia took the money quickly, like she was afraid Jake might change his mind. Of course, sir. Amy will finish your haircut right away. But the damage was done. Every alien in the salon now looked at Jake like he was some kind of criminal. They whispered to each other in their own languages, and Jake could tell they were still talking about him. Amy worked as fast as she could, trying to finish Jake's haircut so he could leave. Her hands were still shaking, and she accidentally cut a little too much hair from one side. I'm sorry, she said, looking like she might cry. I can fix it. It's okay, Jake said gently. It looks fine. Don't worry about it. Ben Clark finished getting his hair cut and walked over to Jake's chair. The other aliens watched him with disapproval, but Ben did not care. Thank you for being kind to me, Ben said to Jake. You are a good person. I hope your daughter's graduation is wonderful. Thank you, Ben, Jake said with a real smile. You're a good kid. Don't let these bullies change that. Ambassador Zalthera heard this and made an angry sound. How dare you call us bullies, human? We are diplomats and nobles from advanced civilizations. You are nothing but a worker who fixes broken things. Jake looked at the crystal alien in the mirror. You're right. I do fix broken things. Maybe that's what this place needs. Someone to fix what's broken here. The salon went quiet. No one had ever talked back to Ambassador Zalthera before. The crystal alien's skin started glowing brighter with anger. "You will regret speaking to me that way, primitive creature," he said in a voice like breaking ice. But Jake was not afraid. He had faced much worse things than rude aliens. He just sat quietly while Amy finished his haircut, waiting for the moment when he could leave this awful place and go see his daughter graduate. None of them knew that in just a few minutes, everything they thought they knew about Jake Morrison was about to change forever. Amy was putting the finishing touches on Jake's haircut when the salon doors opened again. A woman with dark hair and kind eyes walked in. She wore a long white coat that showed she was a doctor or scientist. Her name tag said, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Xenoarchaeology Institute. Elena looked around the fancy salon with its alien customers and expensive decorations. Her eyes moved across the room until they found Jake sitting in the corner chair. Her face lit up with a big smile. "Jake," she called out happily, walking quickly toward him. "What are you doing here?" The entire salon went quiet. All the alien customers stopped their conversations and stared. Patricia looked confused and worried. Amy stopped cutting and stepped back from Jake's chair. Jake turned in his chair and smiled when he saw Elena. "Hello, Elena. I'm getting a haircut for Lisa's graduation today." Elena's smile got even bigger. "Of course. I can't believe it's already been 4 years since she started at the academy. Commander Morrison must be so proud." The word commander hung in the air like a bomb that had not exploded yet. Patricia's mouth fell open. Ambassador Zalthara stopped glowing with anger and started glowing with confusion instead. "Commander?" Patricia repeated weakly. Elena did not notice the strange looks everyone was giving her. She was too excited to see her old friend. "Jake, you look tired. Are you still working too many hours at the power plant? You know Mary always worried about you working too hard." Jake's face got sad when Elena mentioned his wife. "Someone has to keep the lights on, and the extra money helps pay for Lisa's school expenses." "You're too modest," Elena said, shaking her head. "After everything you did during the war, you could have any job you wanted. But you always said you just wanted to do honest work and raise your daughter right." The alien customers were leaning forward in their chairs now, trying to hear every word. The crystal aliens whispered to each other in their wind chime language, but quietly this time. Elena pulled up a chair next to Jake. "I still remember the day Mary called me from the hospital when Lisa was born. She was so happy but also worried about raising a child while you were still on active duty. Of course, that was before the Titan Station incident changed everything." Patricia made a small, gasping sound. Several alien customers dropped the magazines they were reading. Young Ben Clark looked very interested but confused. "Elena," Jake said quietly, "maybe we shouldn't talk about old times here." But Elena was not paying attention to anyone else in the salon. "Don't be silly. I'm proud to know you. We all are. The whole scientific community still talks about what you did. 15 years later, and you're still a legend." Ambassador Zalthara's crystal skin stopped glowing completely, which meant he was either very confused or very scared. He spoke in a careful voice. "Excuse me, Lady Doctor. What is this Titan station you speak of?" Elena looked at the crystal alien with surprise. "You don't know about Titan Station? It's one of the most important events in recent galactic history. Jake here single-handedly saved the entire station and everyone on it during the Krolex War. The Salon was so quiet now that Jake could hear the soft music playing from the hidden speakers. Amy's scissors hung frozen in the air above his head. Patricia looked like she might faint. "There were 50,000 people on that station," Elena continued, warming up to her favorite subject. "Humans, Zephyrians, Centaurians, even some Krolex, prisoners of war. When the main reactor started failing, everyone thought they were all going to die." One of the silver aliens with the long neck made a surprised sound. "Zephyrians were on Titan Station?" "Oh yes," Elena nodded. "There was a whole diplomatic mission there trying to negotiate humanity's entry into the Galactic Federation. If that station had been destroyed, it would have killed the Zephyrian ambassador and started a war between our species." Ambassador Zalthara was staring at Jake now with wide eyes. His crystal skin started to glow very faintly, but it was a different color than before. Instead of the angry red glow, his skin was turning a soft blue color. The reactor core was deep inside the station, Elena went on. The radiation levels were so high that anyone who went in there would die within minutes. But someone had to fix it manually, because all the robots had been destroyed in the Krolex attack. Patricia found her voice. What happened? Elena looked at Jake with deep respect. Jake volunteered to go in. He was just a young engineering officer then, but he understood the reactor systems better than anyone. His commanding officers tried to stop him, but he said it was his duty. Jake shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Elena, please, that was a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, she said firmly. And what you did should never be forgotten. You spent 3 hours in that radiation zone, working with your bare hands to repair systems that were never meant to be fixed by humans. By the time you came out, you had absorbed enough radiation to kill 10 people. Amy gasped and almost dropped her scissors. Did he die? Almost, Elena said sadly. He was in the hospital for 6 months. The doctor said he would never walk again. But Jake proved them wrong, just like he proved everyone wrong who said Titan Station couldn't be saved. The lizard aliens were whispering to each other in their clicking language. One of them kept looking at Jake like he was trying to remember something important. The best part, Elena continued, is what Jake did right before he went into the reactor core. He recorded a message for his wife Mary, telling her he loved her and asking her to take care of their baby daughter if he didn't come back. Then, he sealed his radiation suit and walked into what everyone thought was certain death. Tears started forming in Elena's eyes. Mary played that message for me once. I still get emotional thinking about it. Here was this young man, barely 25 years old, willing to sacrifice everything to save strangers. Most of them weren't even human. Ambassador Zalthara stood up from his chair very slowly. His crystal skin was now glowing bright blue, which Jake knew meant deep respect in Zephyrian culture. You said his name was Morrison? Commander Jake Morrison, Elena said proudly. Though he retired from the military right after the war to raise Lisa and work civilian jobs. He always said he just wanted a normal life. The crystal alien walked toward Jake's chair like he was in a dream. Commander Morrison of the Earth Engineering Corps, the human who saved Titan Station? Jake sighed and looked at Ambassador Zalthara in the mirror. That was a long time ago, Ambassador. I'm just a power plant worker now. But the crystal alien was not listening. He was staring at Jake with something that looked like fear and amazement mixed together. You saved Ambassador Krithera. She was my predecessor, my mentor. She died last year, but she talked about you until her final day. The entire salon seemed to hold its breath. Even the soft music from the speakers seemed quieter. She said a human angel came into the fire to save her life, Ambassador Zalthara continued, his voice shaking. She said he asked for nothing in return except that our peoples become friends. She made me promise to honor all humans because of what you did. Jake met the crystal alien's eyes in the mirror. I just did my job, Ambassador. Nothing more. Nothing less. Nothing more. Elena laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. Jake, you saved the entire galaxy from war. If those peace talks had failed, if the Zephyrian ambassador had died, our species would still be fighting today. Millions of people are alive because of what you did. Patricia was standing behind Jake's chair now, her face white as paper. All around the salon, alien customers were staring at the man they had been insulting just minutes before. The man they had called primitive, dirty, and worthless. The man who had saved them all. The silence in the salon was broken by a loud beeping sound. All the wall screens around the room suddenly turned on by themselves. The screens always showed news and advertisements, but now they were all showing the same thing. A breaking news, she report. A human news reporter appeared on all the screens at once. Behind her was a picture of a space station that looked like a giant wheel spinning in the darkness of space. Big letters at the bottom of the screen said, Titan Station Memorial, Day 15 years later. Today marks the 15th anniversary of humanity's greatest victory in the Krolex War, the reporter said in a clear, professional voice. We remember the brave sacrifice that saved not only 50,000 human lives, but also prevented a galactic war that could have destroyed millions of innocent people. Patricia stared at the screens with her mouth open. The alien customers all turned to look at the news report, then at Jake, then back at the screens. The picture changed to show old video footage from 15 years ago. It was grainy and shaky like it had been filmed during an emergency. The video showed the inside of a space station with alarms flashing red and people running in panic. The Krolex attack on Titan Station came without warning, the reporter continued. Enemy ships destroyed the station's defenses and damaged the main reactor. Radiation levels rose so high that the entire station was minutes away from a complete meltdown. Jake watched the screens quietly while Amy stood frozen behind his chair. He remembered that day like it was yesterday. The smell of smoke, the sound of alarms, the feeling of fear in his stomach when he realized what had to be done. The video changed to show the outside of Titan Station. Parts of it were on fire and pieces of metal were floating away into space. It looked like a dying animal. With all automated systems failing, someone had to go into the reactor core manually, the news reporter said. The radiation was so strong that anyone who entered would die within minutes. Military commanders called for volunteers, knowing it was almost certainly a suicide mission. Ambassador Zalthara was now standing right behind Jake's chair, staring at the screens with his crystal skin glowing bright blue. The other alien customers had moved closer too, forming a circle around Jake like he was some kind of religious statue. The video on the screens changed again. This time it showed a young man in a military uniform. He had the same face as Jake, but he was 15 years younger and his hair was shorter. The name at the bottom of the screen said, Lieutenant Jake Morrison, Engineering Corps. "Oh my God," Patricia whispered, looking back and forth between the young Jake on the screen and the older Jake sitting in the chair. Lieutenant Morrison was only 25 years old, the reporter continued. He had a wife and a baby daughter at home. But when he learned that the Zephyrian diplomatic mission was trapped on the station, he volunteered immediately. The video showed the young Jake putting on a thick radiation suit. Even through the grainy footage, everyone could see how scared he looked, but he was still putting on the suit anyway. One of the silver aliens made a soft sound of surprise. "He was just a child," she said quietly. "The Zephyrian mission was led by Ambassador Krethera," the reporter went on. "She and her team were on Titan Station to negotiate humanity's first major peace treaty. If they had died, it would have been seen as an act of war by the Zephyrian Empire." Ambassador Zalthara's skin was now glowing so bright that it hurt to look at him directly. Tears were falling from his crystal eyes, making small musical sounds when they hit the floor. The video showed the young Jake walking down a long hallway toward a door marked with radiation warning signs. Each step looked harder than the last, like he was walking through water that got deeper and deeper. "Lieutenant Morrison spent 3 hours inside the reactor core," the reporter said. "Working in radiation levels that should have killed him in minutes, he manually repaired systems that had never been designed for human hands." The screen showed technical drawings of the reactor, with arrows pointing to different parts. Elena, who was still sitting next to Jake, quietly explained to the aliens what they were looking at. "The quantum fusion regulators were completely destroyed," Elena said. "Jake had to rebuild them from spare parts while wearing thick gloves and a helmet that made it hard to see. And he had to do it all while the radiation was cooking him alive from the inside." Amy made a small crying sound and put her hand over her mouth. Some of the alien customers were crying too, including young Ben Clark. The news report showed more footage from that day. This time it was video of people being evacuated from Titan Station. Humans, Zephyrians, Centaurians, and even some Krolex prisoners were all helping each other get to the escape ships. When Lieutenant Morrison finally emerged from the reactor core, the station was saved, the reporter said. But he had absorbed so much radiation that doctors said he had minutes to live. The video showed the young Jake being carried out on a stretcher. His face was burned and his hair was falling out. He looked more dead than alive. "Somehow he survived," the reporter continued. "After 6 months in the hospital and 2 years of treatment, Lieutenant Morrison made a full recovery, but he chose to leave the military and live a quiet life with his family." Patricia was crying now, tears running down her cheeks and ruining her perfect makeup. "We didn't know," she whispered. "We had no idea." The news report showed a picture of Jake receiving a medal from the President of Earth. He looked uncomfortable, in his dress uniform, like he wanted to be anywhere else. Lieutenant Morrison was offered every honor the military could give, the reporter said, but he refused most of them. He said he was just doing his job and that any soldier would have done the same thing. Ambassador Zalthara made a sound like wind blowing through broken glass. It was the Zephyrian sound of deep shame. We called him primitive, he said, his voice shaking. We called him worthless. We said he was nothing but a worker. The screens now showed recent pictures of Jake at the power plant where he worked. He was wearing his work clothes and fixing a large machine. He looked happy and peaceful, like a man who had found his place in the world. Today, former Lieutenant Morrison works as a maintenance engineer at the New Angeles power plant, the reporter said. He lives quietly with his daughter, who is graduating, today from the Space Navy Academy. When asked about his heroic actions 15 years ago, Morrison always says the same thing. He was just doing his job. The news report ended with a picture of Titan Station as it looked today. It was beautiful and shining, full of life and activity. Thousands of ships came and went every day, carrying people and goods between Earth and the alien worlds. Because of one man's courage, the reporter concluded. Titan Station stands today as a symbol of peace between all the species of the galaxy. And because of his sacrifice, we remember that true heroism often comes from the most unexpected places. The screens went dark. The salon was completely silent, except for the sound of crying. Every alien in the room was staring at Jake with a mixture of shame, respect, and wonder. Jake looked around at all the faces watching him. He saw Patricia's tears, Ambassador Zalthara's glowing skin, young Ben's wide eyes, and Amy's shocked expression. Well, Jake said quietly, I guess now, you know why I need to look good for my daughter's graduation. The salon exploded into chaos the moment Jake spoke. Patricia dropped to her knees beside his chair, her hands shaking as she tried to grab his arm. Commander Morrison, I am so sorry, she cried, her makeup running down her face in black streaks. Please forgive us, we didn't know who you were, we made a terrible mistake. Jake gently moved his arm away from her desperate grip. Please get up, Patricia, you don't need to kneel. But Patricia would not get up. I treated you like garbage. I made you sit in the worst chair. I made you pay before getting your hair cut. I am the worst person in the galaxy. Around them, the alien customers were also falling apart. The silver aliens with long necks were making high-pitched crying sounds. The lizard aliens were hitting their heads with their clawed hands, which was how their species showed shame. Even the newest customers who had just arrived were backing toward the door, afraid they might have said something rude without knowing it. Ambassador Zalthara stepped forward slowly. His crystal skin was now glowing so bright that it lit up the whole corner of the salon. He raised his forearms above his head and then slowly brought them down to his sides. This was the traditional Zephyrian bow of highest honor, something that had never been given to a human before. Commander Morrison, he said in a voice that shook like an earthquake, I offer you the Veltar Kree, the bow of life debt. You saved my mentor. You saved my people. You saved the galaxy. And I repaid your kindness by calling you primitive and worthless. Jake stood up from his chair, even though Amy was not finished with his haircut. Ambassador, please don't bow to me. I'm not better than you or anyone else here. But Ambassador Zalthara stayed in his bow. In my culture, a life debt can only be repaid with another life. Ambassador Krithara spent her last 15 years trying to find a way to honor what you did. She made me promise to treat all humans with respect because of your sacrifice. And what did I do? I spat on her memory and insulted the very person she told me to honor. The other crystal aliens joined their ambassador in the ceremonial bow. Soon, every alien in the salon was bowing or showing respect in their own cultural way. The lizard aliens lay flat on the floor. The silver aliens crossed their arms over their hearts. Even young Ben Clark was bowing, though he was smiling through his tears. Please, everyone, get up, Jake said, looking uncomfortable with all the attention. You don't need to do this. We all make mistakes. The important thing is that we learn from them. One by one, the aliens stood up, but they all kept staring at Jake like he was some kind of miracle. Patricia finally got up from her knees, but she was still crying. "How can you forgive us?" she asked. "We were so cruel to you. We judged you by your clothes and your job instead of seeing who you really are." Jake sat back down so Amy could finish his haircut. "Because holding anger hurts me more than it hurts you, and because I understand why you acted the way you did." "How can you understand?" Ambassador Zalthara asked. "What we did was unforgivable." Jake looked at all the aliens gathered around his chair. "You've probably never met someone like me before. In your worlds, important people dress in fancy clothes and live in big houses. You thought that's how all heroes look. But most heroes are just ordinary people who do the right thing when it matters." Elena nodded from her chair. "That's exactly what Mary used to say. She said Jake was the most extraordinary, ordinary man she ever met." Amy started cutting Jake's hair again, but her hands were still shaking. "I'm sorry I'm not doing a good job," she whispered. "I'm too nervous now." "You're doing fine," Jake told her kindly. "Take your time. My daughter's graduation doesn't start for 2 hours. Young Ben Clark stepped closer to Jake's chair. "Mr. Morrison, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Ben. And just call me Jake." Ben's big green eyes were full of curiosity. "Were you scared when you went into the reactor? The news said you might die." Jake thought for a moment before answering. "I was terrified, Ben. More scared than I've ever been in my life. But sometimes being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do what's right even when you are afraid." Ben nodded seriously. "Is that why you became a power plant worker? Because you want to keep helping people?" "Partly," Jake said, "but mostly because I like fixing things. When something is broken, I figure out how to make it work again. It makes me happy." Ambassador Zalthara was listening to every word. "On my world, we have a saying, 'The crystal that shines brightest needs no crown.' We use it to describe people who are truly great but never brag about it." "That's a beautiful saying," Jake replied. Patricia wiped her eyes and tried to fix her makeup. "Commander Morrison, please let us give you our best treatment. Free of charge. It's the least we can do." Jake shook his head. "I already paid and Amy is doing a great job. I don't need anything fancy. I just want to look nice for my daughter." "But surely you'll let us do something," Patricia begged. "How about a massage or maybe our luxury skin treatment?" "Really, I'm fine," Jake said with a smile. "The best thing you can do is treat your next customers with kindness no matter what they look like or what job they have." One of the silver aliens stepped forward. "Commander Morrison, my name is Velandra. I am a diplomat from the Centaurian Federation. Would you allow me to attend your daughter's graduation?" "I would be honored to meet the child of such a great man." Jake looked surprised. "You want to come to Lisa's graduation?" "If you would permit it," Velandra said. "My government would consider it a great honor. We could send a small delegation to show our respect." Before Jake could answer, Ambassador Zalthara spoke up. "The Zephyrian Empire would also like to send representatives. We have gifts for your daughter, scholarships, letters of recommendation, anything she might need for her career." Wait, Jake said, holding up his hands. "This is very kind, but Lisa earned her place at the academy by herself. She doesn't need special treatment because of what I did 15 years ago." Elena laughed. "Jake, you're being stubborn again. Let them honor Lisa if they want to. She's worked hard, and she deserves recognition." More aliens started offering gifts and honors. The lizard aliens wanted to give Lisa a ceremonial sword. The newer customers who had just learned about Jake's story wanted to write letters to their governments recommending trade agreements with Earth. "Please," Jake said, starting to feel overwhelmed. "You don't need to do all this. Just be kinder to the next person who walks in here wearing work clothes. That would mean more to me than any gifts." Amy finished cutting Jake's hair and stepped back. "There," she said proudly. "You look wonderful, sir. Your daughter is going to be so proud." Jake looked at himself in the mirror. Amy had done an excellent job. His hair was neat and professional, but still looked natural. "Thank you, Amy. This is perfect." Patricia brought Jake a small card. "This is a lifetime membership to our salon," she said. You and your family can come here anytime, free of charge, and I promise we'll train all our staff to treat every customer with respect. Jake took the card politely, though everyone could tell he would probably never use it. That's very thoughtful, Patricia. Ambassador Zalthara approached Jake one more time. Commander Morrison, I know you refuse most honors, but would you at least allow me to tell Ambassador Krethara's family what happened here today? They would want to know that I finally met the human who saved her life. Jake stood up and shook the crystal alien's hand. Of course, Ambassador, and please tell them that she was a good diplomat. The peace treaty she negotiated has saved millions of lives. As Jake prepared to leave the salon, every alien customer wanted to shake his hand or bow to him one more time. Young Ben Clark asked for an autograph, which Jake gave with a smile. Even the salon staff lined up to apologize and thank him. I have to go now, Jake said finally. I don't want to be late for Lisa's big day. As he walked toward the door, the entire salon applauded. Jake turned back and waved, looking embarrassed but happy. Remember, he called out, be kind to everyone. You never know who they might be or what they've been through. And with that, the hero of Titan Station walked out of Stellar Lux Salon, leaving behind a room full of aliens who would never judge anyone by their appearance again. Jake walked out of the Stellar Lux Salon feeling like a different person. Not because of his new haircut, though Amy had done an excellent job, but because of what had just happened inside. He had gone in as a nobody and come out as himself, something he had not been in public for 15 years. Elena walked beside him on the busy sidewalk. Flying cars moved overhead, and aliens and humans walked together in both directions. The city looked the same as it had an hour ago, but somehow, everything felt different now. That was something else, Elena said, shaking her head. I've never seen aliens apologize like that before. Ambassador Zalthara looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Jake stopped walking and looked back at the salon. Through the big windows, he could see the aliens still talking excitedly inside. Patricia was showing Ben Clark something on her computer screen, probably pictures from the news report. Ambassador Zalthara was talking on his communication device, likely calling his government. I feel bad for them, Jake said quietly. Elena stared at him like he had grown a second head. You feel bad for them? Jake, they treated you like garbage for over an hour. They called you primitive and worthless. They made fun of your work clothes and your job. They didn't know any better, Jake replied. In their worlds, heroes probably do look different. They've never met someone like me before. That's no excuse for being cruel to anyone, Elena said firmly. Jake started walking again, and Elena hurried to keep up. You're right, but holding anger won't change what happened, and maybe this experience will help them treat other people better in the future. They walked in comfortable silence for a few blocks. The Space Navy Academy was in the center of the city, a tall building made of white stone that gleamed in the afternoon sun. As they got closer, Jake could see families gathering outside for the graduation ceremony. Humans, aliens, and mixed families were all dressed in their best clothes, carrying flowers and cameras. Jake, Elena said suddenly, aren't you worried about what's going to happen now? Once word gets out that Commander Morrison is working at a power plant, every news reporter in the galaxy is going to want to interview you. Jake had been thinking about the same thing. For 15 years he had lived quietly, raising Lisa and doing his job without anyone bothering him. But after today, that peaceful life might be over. I'll deal with it when it happens, he said. Right now I just want to focus on Lisa. As they reached the academy steps, Jake saw a small crowd of aliens gathering near the entrance. His heart sank, thinking they might be reporters. But as he got closer, he realized they were the customers. From the salon, Ambassador Zalthara was there with his crystal friends. The silver aliens were there too, along with the lizard aliens and several others Jake did not recognize. Even young Ben Clark was there with what looked like his parents, 2 older aliens with green skin like his. Commander Morrison, Ben called, out when he saw Jake. We came to watch your daughter graduate. Jake felt overwhelmed. Ben, you didn't have to do this. This is a family event. Ambassador Zalthara stepped forward, his crystal skin glowing softly with respect. Commander, we hope you don't mind our presence. After what happened at the salon, we felt we needed to do something to show our sincere apologies. We also wanted to meet your daughter, added Valandra, the silver alien diplomat. If she is anything like her father, she must be an extraordinary young woman. Elena squeezed Jake's arm. Let them stay, Jake. This is good for everyone. More families were arriving for the graduation ceremony. Some of them recognized the alien dignitaries and started whispering to each other. A few humans approached to ask for autographs from Ambassador Zalthara, not knowing who Jake was. Patricia from the salon came running up the steps, breathing hard. She had changed out of her work clothes and was wearing a nice dress. Commander Morrison, I hope it's okay that I came. I wanted to apologize to your daughter too and to see the graduation of such a special young woman. Jake was about to answer when the academy doors opened. A line of young officers in crisp blue uniforms began marching out in perfect formation. Each one carried a laser sword at their side and wore the silver bars of a new ensign on their shoulders. There she is. Elena pointed to a young woman in the middle of the formation. Lisa Morrison looked exactly like her mother, with long dark hair and kind eyes. But she had her father's strong jaw and confident walk. Her uniform was perfect, and she marched with the precision of someone who had worked hard to earn her place. Jake felt tears forming in his eyes as he watched his daughter. She had grown up so much since Mary died. The scared little girl who used to have nightmares about losing her father had become a strong young woman ready to serve in the galaxy's most respected military force. The graduation ceremony began with speeches from academy officials and government leaders. Jake tried to pay attention, but he kept noticing how the alien visitors from the salon were watching everything with fascination and respect. When they called Lisa's name, she stepped forward. To receive her commission, Ensign Lisa Morrison, the Academy Commandant announced, graduated with highest honors in engineering and diplomatic relations. The aliens from the Salon applauded louder than anyone else. Ambassador Zalthara's crystal skin was glowing so bright with pride that people around him had to shield their eyes. After the ceremony, families gathered to congratulate the new officers. Lisa found Jake in the crowd and ran to him with a huge smile. Dad, you look so handsome. Where did you get that haircut? Just a little place downtown, Jake said, hugging his daughter tightly. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Mom would be proud too. I know she would, Lisa said, tears in her eyes. I felt her with me today. Elena joined their hug, and for a moment Jake forgot about everything else. This was what mattered. His daughter achieving her dreams and carrying on the family tradition of service. Ensign Morrison, Ambassador Zalthara approached carefully, not wanting to interrupt the family moment. Lisa looked surprised to see such important alien dignitaries at her graduation. Yes, sir? I am Ambassador Zalthara of the Zephyrian Empire. I wanted to congratulate you on your graduation and to tell you what an honor it is to meet the daughter of Commander Jake Morrison. Lisa looked confused. She knew about her father's military service, but Jake had never told her how famous he was in alien cultures. Your father saved my mentor's life 15 years ago, the ambassador continued. He is considered a great hero among my people. We wanted to attend your graduation to show our respect for your family. More aliens approached to introduce themselves and offer congratulations. Lisa looked overwhelmed but happy as Diplomat after. Diplomat praised her father's actions and wished her well in her career. Young Ben Clark came up to Lisa with a small wrapped gift. This is from my family, he said shyly. It's a traditional Centaurian good luck charm for new officers. Thank you, Lisa said, accepting the gift gracefully. That's very thoughtful. As the sun began to set, the crowd started to thin out. The alien dignitaries said their goodbyes, each one thanking Jake again and promising to spread word about treating all people with respect regardless of their appearance. Patricia was the last to leave. Commander Morrison, she said, I want you to know that everything at the Salon is going to change. We're implementing new training for all staff about treating customers equally, and we're donating money to the Titan Station Memorial Fund in your honor. That's very kind, Patricia, Jake said. Just remember to judge people by their actions, not their clothes. As Jake, Lisa, and Elena walked home together, Lisa asked about what had happened at the salon. Jake told her the whole story, from the rude treatment to the dramatic revelation to the apologies and honors. "I'm not surprised they didn't recognize you at first," Lisa said. "You've always been just Dad to me. I sometimes forget that other people see you as a war hero." "I'd rather be known as a good father than a war hero," Jake replied. "You're both," Elena said firmly. "And that's why what happened today was so important. Those aliens learned that heroes don't always look like what they expect. Sometimes they look like ordinary people doing extraordinary things." As they reached their modest apartment building, Jake looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, ships were traveling between worlds in peace because of what he had done 15 years ago. Down here on Earth, a few more people had learned not to judge others by their appearance. It had been a strange day, but a good one. His daughter was now an officer in the Space Navy, ready to help protect the peace he had helped create. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy had become a little bit kinder. Jake smiled as he opened the door to their home. Tomorrow he would go back to work at the power plant, keeping the lights on for his city. It was honest work and he was proud of it. After all, someone had to make sure the ordinary things kept working so that extraordinary things could happen. And that, Jake thought, was the most heroic job of all.